souls are always serving. And namasyantas, that means that they are always offering obeisances to me. So he's saying that with great determination they bow down to me, and these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So please read this purport, the green portion first.
The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things, therefore, a Mahatma is attached to Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Thank you. So Prabhupada is clarifying here that when Krishna says glorifying, so what does he glorify? He glorifies the holy name, he glorifies his form, he glorifies his qualities. So this is Naam, Roop, Gun and Leela. So a devotee, a Mahatma, glorifies the holy name, the form of the Lord, his gunas, his qualities, and his Leela, uncommon pastimes. Then Prabhupada clarifies that one who's attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. So who are Mahatmas? Mahatmas are those devotees who are attached to the personal form of the Lord, who render service to the personal form of the Lord, not those who are either Brahmavadis or Paramatmavadis. Only those who offer service to the Bhagwan feature of the Lord, his personal feature. And then Prabhupada says the Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. So their business is only to hear and chant about Krishna. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate and the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the 5 transcendental rasas. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal. Everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, that is called full Krishna consciousness. So with his body, words, and mind, he is always serving Krishna. And he will serve Krishna in one of the 5 rasas, right? One of the 5 rasas, whichever his heart is drawn to, whichever is his natural propensity. Now, Tulsi, read this pink portion, please.
In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days like 11th day of moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatma's great soul strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result.
Thank you. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he comments on this particular verse, he says that Krishna uses the word Mam twice. One is in the first line, and then second is Mam in the third line. He uses the word Mam twice. So Krishna is making it very clear, to me, not to my, not to my effulgence, not to my other expansions, but to me. So a Mahatma is the one who's actually serving the personal form of the Lord. And Satatam means what? Satatam means that a Mahatma does not depend on the externals. It's not that, oh, today I'm not well, then I won't chant. It's not like that. He's always chanting. He's not dependent on the situation. Satatam means he's doing it always. He's under the internal potency. So external situations don't matter to him. External situations don't disturb him. Okay? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept mine.
Mataji, we generally see that we do not use this term Mahatma. We use the term as pure devotees, right? So is there any difference between a pure devotee and the Mahatmas and all?
No, it's the same. It's the same. Now, when you do NOD, then you will come to know that there is a difference between pure devotee and pure unalloyed devotee. You know, so a Mahatma is a pure unalloyed devotee. A Kanishta Adhikari can also be a pure devotee, but pure unalloyed devotee means somebody who's at a very high level. Okay, so pure
Okay,
devotion, because Rupa Goswami gives a very nice definition of pure devotion service, which is Anya Bilashita Shunyam, which you will cover in NOD. So he gives that definition of pure devotion service. So that should mean that a sadhaka at any level should be able to practice it. It is not a definition just for Mahabhagavats. It's a definition for all levels of devotees. So if you follow that, Tathastha Lakshan and you follow the Swarup Lakshan, then you can be a pure devotee even at the Kanishta level. But pure unalloyed devotee is the high level devotee. Normally when we say pure devotee, we think of high level, but actually even a Kanishta can be a pure devotee depending on where his faith is and what process he's following. So I'm not going to go much in detail because you will cover this all in NOD, but Mahatma is a pure unalloyed devotee. Okay? Text 15. ज्ञानयज्ञेन चापि अन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form.
Yeah. So here now Krishna is talking about three kinds of worshippers who worship Krishna indirectly. They don't realize that it is Krishna they are worshipping because they're doing it indirectly. So in the purport, Prabhupada says this verse is a summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjun that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are others who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. This is what we learned in the 7th chapter, the 4 kinds of people who take shelter of Krishna. Now Prabhupada is talking about those who are lower, because Krishna is talking about those people, those who are lower than these 4 kind of people. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into 3. 1, he who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. Who's this?
Pondra?
No. What category? I'm not talking person. What category of people are these? Karunamai?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble
Please accept mine.
Mataji, the Mayavadis.
The impersonalist. Yeah. Second, he who concocts some form of Supreme Lord and worships that. Who are these?
Demigod worshipper.
Yeah, these are demigod worshippers. And he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarup of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship that. These are the Vishwarup worshippers, universal form worshippers. Out of the above 3, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are most predominant. Out of these 3 categories, who are the lowest? The impersonalists are the lowest because they think that once they merge into Krishna, they will become Krishna. That is the reason they want to merge into Krishna, because they want to become Krishna. And Prabhupada is saying that this is the most prominent category. Such people think themselves to be Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in that way. Then he says the second class includes the worshipper of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. So these demigod worshippers, they think that whichever demigod is actually the Supreme Lord. right? If you ask a demigod worshipper, who's the Supreme Lord? What do you think they'll say?
The predominating deity of that or the demigod only.
Yeah, whichever demigod they have faith in, that is the Supreme Lord. So this is what Prabhupada is saying here. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They cannot conceive the transcendental form of the Lord. They are therefore the universal form worshippers. So these are the three set of people who worship Krishna indirectly, because demigods are part and parcel of Krishna. Brahma Jyoti is effulgence of Krishna, and the Vishwarup or universal form is nothing but an imaginary form, imaginary and temporary form exhibited by Krishna for those who cannot conceive his transcendental form. Okay? All right. 16. Yes, Daya.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I haven't got the third category. What are the example of those?
Example as in?
Like, how can we see in our day-to-day life these people?
That's what, remember Krishna says that you see me as the taste of water, you see me as this, you see me.
Yes,
Basically,
remember.
they see Krishna as the source of all material manifestation, and that's how they understand him. The universal form is not.
They doesn't worship anybody.
They worship the universal form.
How
What do
can
you
that
think?
be?
What do you mean, how can that be?
Matlab, I mean, how can universal form be worshipped? Like,
Yeah, that's how can, okay, tell me, how can impersonal form be worshipped?
I don't know.
Yeah, so there are people who have faith in those kind of forms. They can conceive something in their mind and worship. For a person, it's very difficult to understand how can somebody worship Krishna as impersonal. Who can worship a light? But they do. And that's why their process is so dry, because there's no reciprocation and so difficult. Okay? Aham kratur aham yagya swadhaham aham aushadham mantroham aham evajam aham agnir aham hutam.
But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant, and I am the butter and the fire and the offering.
So next 4 verses, Krishna is going to talk about how people who worship the universal form worship him. So Daya, this is how they worship him in the universal form. They see him as the sacrifice, they see him as the offering, they see him as the ritual, the herbs, the transcendental chant, the butter, everything. They think, oh, everything is Krishna. So Prabhupada explains this in the purport. He says, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in Karmakand division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. And before that, Prabhupada mentions that the Vedic sacrifice is Krishna, the oblations to the Pitraloka are also Krishna, the clarified butter is also Krishna. So, that's how they conceive Krishna in the universal form. So we'll see more in the 17th also, this continues. Pitahamasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksamya jure vacha. Somebody read?
I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Raj, the
Rig.
Rig, Sama, and the Yajur Vedas.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, this is a shloka on how they see Krishna as the maintainer of everything. So they learn how to see Krishna everywhere in everything as the maintainer. Jyoti, you have a question?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble
Accept
obeisances.
mine.
Here that line of Pitraloka came to that question came to me that like whenever we are offering to Krishna the bhoga which we are offering, so is it automatically offered to all the demigods and the Pitraloka everywhere it is automatically offered like that?
So Krishna is a root. If you have offered to root, it's understood that everyone gets nourishment. Just like in a tree, if you offer water to the root, all the branches, all the twigs, all the leaves get nourishment. So you don't have to worry about them separately. If it is offered to Krishna, everything is within Krishna. Everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna is satisfied, they are automatically satisfied.
Because here somewhere I read that line that in Pitraloka they should receive that Krishna Prasad for them
That
to
is when people do Shraddh. This comes in the first chapter when Arjun is, Prabhupada mentions this, when Arjun is actually talking about why he doesn't want to fight because it will destroy the family traditions and things like that. So Prabhupada mentions that for a Krishna conscious person, the Shraddh is not necessary to do because you are a devotee of Krishna, so Krishna will take care of everything. You don't have to do Shraddh. But in case you want to do Shraddh, in case, so the proper way to do it is that you first offer everything to Krishna and then offer the Pitras Krishna Prasad so that they when they eat Prasad, they can be delivered. So that is how it is done. Was that your question?
That was only my question. Actually, it was mentioned the duration for which they receive Krishna Prasad, till that time they are able to stay in the in the Pitra Loka, and the time when they stop receiving the Prasad, they fall down.
Yeah, and also when they receive Prasad, then next life they can become devotees and they can get delivered. And because in these planets and upper planets, 6 months are equal to 1 day in according to human calculation, right? 1 day of demigods is equivalent to 6 months, and that is why the Shraddh comes twice a year, so that every day Pitras can be fed. They have Krishna Prasad to eat. So that's how it is calculated. Okay? Yeah. So please somebody read the purport.
The entire cosmic manifestation, moving and unmoving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are part and parcel of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna.
Thank you. So here Prabhupada is explaining that everything and everybody is actually nothing but an extension of Krishna. Like we have our whole family, our father, mother, they are all living entities. So they are all parts and parcel of Krishna. Nobody is separate from Krishna. So they all appear as our father. This is so in Krishna book, the chapter of the Brahman Patnis, I think. Yeah, it's the chapter of Brahman Patnis, deliverance of Brahman Patnis. Prabhupada mentions that Krishna appears in our lives as our father, mother, our house, whatever we need to go on, he appears and fulfills that need in us. So it is nothing but Krishna who comes in the form of different relationships, different friends, different things to help us take a step forward. Then Prabhupada says that subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who's inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranav, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because the Pranav or Omkar is very prominent in all the hymns of the 4 Vedas, Sam, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, they are all understood to be Krishna. So basically, everything, if you see in proper perspective, nothing is really outside of Krishna. And this is what Arjun will see in the 11th chapter when the description of universal form comes. He will see that everything is within Krishna, everything. Okay? So somebody can now start reading, somebody can read the shloka and translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I?
Yeah, please do.
गतिभर्ता प्रभु साक्षी निवास शरणं सुहृत् प्रभव प्रलय स्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम्. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refugee, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything and resting place and the eternal seed.
Yeah, please read the blue portion.
Purpose. Gati means the destination where we want to go, but the ultimate goal is Krishna. Although people do not know it, one who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of their strict respective methods, they reach different planets known as Chandralok, Suryalok, Indralok, Mahalok, etc. But all such lokas or planets, being creation of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna, but actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy.
Yeah, so Prabhupada is mentioning that they see everything as Krishna. So instead of going to Krishna through his energy, he says that it is better to go to Krishna directly as a person. You know, these are all his opulences, right? That he's the master, he's the creation, annihilation. These are his expansions or his his vibhutis. So instead of going through that, it's just better that one approaches Krishna directly. So here Krishna is using a word suhrit. So what is the meaning of suhrit?
Best friend.
Most intimate friend.
Well
Most
wisher.
intimate. So there are two more words in Sanskrit which are used for friend. One is mitra and one is bandhu. And the third one is suhrit. So what is a mitra? Mitra is an ordinary friend, like, social relationship. Such a relationship is known as mitra. And bandhu is an official relationship, like a cousin, a cousin. That kind of a friend is a bandhu. And suhrit is one who is close to the heart, who knows the heart. So Krishna is saying, I'm that kind of a friend. And actually, he's not stating anything that we don't know, because he's situated in our heart. He's closest to us. He really understands our heart's desire. So there are three kind of friendly relationships. And then Prabhupada says, for example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase step by step? Really, it makes sense. If you can take the elevator, why would you go step by step? So that's why he's saying that instead of approaching Krishna indirectly through his energies, just approach him directly. Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna being situated in everyone's heart is the supreme witness. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. Okay? 19th. Somebody please read.
तपाम्य अहं वर्षं निगृह्णाम्य उत्सृजामि च अमृतं चैव मृत्युश्च सदश्च चाहम् अर्जुन. Translation: O Arjun, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death. personified. Both spirit and matter are in me.
Yeah, please read the highlighted portion.
Perfect. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinction. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising uh, all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavan as two-handed Shyamasundar playing on a flute are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, Prabhupada is saying here that a person who's really advanced does not make any distinctions. He can understand that the matter and spirit both are coming from Krishna. So we have Prabhupada's example when, I think it was in South Africa, Prabhupada went on a walk with his disciples, and in a house which was very close to the temple, the water was running. So Prabhupada entered the courtyard and closed that tap. So these disciples were a little shaken that, Prabhupada entered somebody else's house and closed the tap. So they asked Prabhupada, that's somebody else's house. So Prabhupada said, but that's Krishna's energy being wasted. So a person of that caliber can see, we see water as water flowing, but advanced devotee sees that as Krishna's energy. So he doesn't like to waste Krishna's energy. So for them it doesn't matter whether it's matter or spirit. They know everything is coming from Krishna. Okay? Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji, can we define matter? How can we define matter? What is matter exactly?
Matter is something which is not live, right? So see here, let's read the first few lines. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky. What is water? Water is part of the matter. Yeah, so he checks the rain. Water is matter. Water is not spiritual. It's not a spirit. It's not life, right? And then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna, and Krishna meets us as death at the end. So that's why I gave the example of Prabhupada closing the tap, because water is not spirit, water is matter. But our advanced soul sees no difference between matter and spirit. They see everything originating from Krishna. Matter is anything which doesn't have the spirit, so doesn't have the soul. Right? So like Prabhupada also had this view that if you're coming to the temple, don't destroy the property. Though it is all Krishna's energy. Like if somebody, once Prabhupada was giving a class and somebody got up and went out of the room and closed the door behind, and he banged the door. And Prabhupada said, pure devotees don't do that, because they can see this is also Krishna's energy. Pure devotees don't do that. Okay? Daya?
Mataji, then I read in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is in every atom. So there it is not as a super soul.
In matter, Krishna is not present as super soul, no? But all the elements are coming from Krishna ultimately.
Yes.
So that's how he's in every atom.
Energies of Krishna, but not as present as a super soul.
Yeah, it is a material, it's matter. Okay? It's not the spiritual energy. Text 20. Somebody please read.
विद्यमां सोमकपूतपाप यज्ञैरिष्ट्वा स्वर्गतिं पार्थयन्ते ते पुण्य आसाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोकम् अशान्ति दिव्यान् दिवि देवभोगान्. Translation: Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights.
Yeah. So now he talked about now universe people who worship him in the universal form, and now he's talking about demigod worshippers. So we can see that how in the 7th chapter also he does that, right? He talks about demigod worshippers, and this is, I think, this is the final time that Krishna will talk about demigod worshippers. He will not talk about demigod worshippers after this. So he's saying, yeah. The word Trividya, refers to the three Vedas, Sam, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in the society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the three Vedis. Actual Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Then he says, unfortunately, those are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to different demigods like Indra and Chandra. And what do they get caught in? They get caught in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, and they offer different sacrifices, and their goal is to go up to the moon planet and drink Somrasa and enjoy. That's what their goal is. So he's talking about demigod worshippers. And then he'll say further, Daya?
Mataji, when someone goes in heavenly planet, they doesn't remember the human form of life.
Why? Why are you asking this question?
Came
You're thinking that if you go there, then would you remember that, oh, I was in the human form?
No, it's not like that. It came like whenever they go higher in the planet, they will remember, and further they will continue their devotional service there. So like,
No, not necessarily that they would remember. But devotional service they can continue, because if that person practiced devotional service in the human form and he went to heavenly planets because of the desire for sense gratification, then because of bhakti sanskar, there is a possibility that that person would be able to continue devotional service. But like I said, it's very difficult, because with so much opulence, it becomes very difficult to do devotional service, to surrender. Very difficult. And that's why Prabhupada gives the example that a lot of like rich people of this world don't surrender to Krishna, because opulence is a great, great, great obstacle. Is that okay?
yes, okay. And one more thing I got from Vimla Prasad Prabhuji, he said that there's no distress. There is distress, but as compared to material world, there's very less distress. That's why we are not more attracted towards service.
There's opulence and distress is less, but distress is there. There's no
Distress as
disease
compared to
there's no disease, but there is distress in the way that sometimes the even the heavenly planets get attacked by the demoniac people, like demons attack in Indra and his planet, and sometimes it happens. So it's very distressing. And also when the duration is coming to an end, then you can see that garland fading. It's very distressful. You realize, oh, my time is coming to an end, I have to go back. I'll be thrown out of here. So that kind of distress is there, but not like, oh, today there's no water, today there's no power, a lot of traffic. Those kind of distresses are not there in the
okay.
heavenly planets. Okay, Prabhu?
Mataji, so here it's been mentioned for the three Vedas only. So in the previous verse as well, on verse number 17, we see it's Krishna mentioned of the three Vedas. So why not the fourth one? Is Atharva not valid or valuable? Or what about that, Mataji?
Actually, Vyasadev wrote Yajur Veda first. That was the only Veda that he wrote, but it was very large, it was huge. And when he saw that Kali Yuga is coming and the people are going to be very less intelligent with almost very little memory, Then just to have compassion on them, he divided that into 4 parts, so that they don't have to read one whole thing. They can read this Veda or that Veda and benefit. Now, Atharva Veda is a lot of times not considered as a Veda separate. The reason is that the Atharva Veda deals with the mantras to rectify the faults in yagyas, different yagyas. So it is not sometimes considered as a separate Veda. That is the reason. Yeah. Okay. Krishna Priya Mataji.
Eternal Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, Hare Krishna. Demigods are they are so selfish that they never force or like they tell people that you should pray to Krishna. Krishna has to come on this earth and tell, like, pray me and surrender to me, because they are the assistants of different departments of God's creation. So they could have uh, promoted people or the forced people, or at least said, like, he is the ultimate source, so please go to him.
If you approach demigods without any material desires, and you just tell them, if you pray to a demigod saying, do what is right, or tell me what is right, if you pray like that, they will take you to Krishna. Therefore, in ISKCON, a lot of devotees were earlier Hanuman devotees or Shiva devotees. And if you ask them, they'll tell you that I did not really pray for any fulfillment of any desire. I just thought they were the supreme. So then demigods, put these people at the lotus feet of Krishna. They bring them to the lotus feet of Krishna. So it's not that they're selfish. If you approach them without any material desire, they will assist you in coming to Krishna. But if you approach them with material desires, then they have a portfolio. That if somebody comes to you with this material desire and worships you with the proper rules and regulations, then you have to fulfill that desire. And the reason demigod worship is given in the Vedas is because if somebody accepts demigods as the authority, then one thing is that they are accepting authority which is given in Vedas. And by accepting demigods as authorities and following their instructions or following the rules and regulations to worship them, slowly a person gets purified and comes to Krishna consciousness. That's the reason it is given in Vedas, because it does help in progress, but that progress is very slow.
Now, I too felt the same thing, because I was also praying other Shiv Shakti and Hanumanji earlier, but somehow gradually I shifted towards Krishna. In my childhood, I was praying to Vishnu, Shirodashai Vishnu, but now I'm totally into Krishna consciousness. But I haven't seen in any Shiv Puran or any other Puranas they mention that you should pray to Krishna.
See, Shiv Puran, if you read Bhagavatam, Prabhupada in the purport tells that the 18 Purans are divided in 3 modes. Shiva Puran is Tamasic Puran. It is in the mode of ignorance. It is meant to attract those people who cannot get attracted by Sattvic Purans. So Krishna, Vyasadeva has made arrangement that you could be in any mode, but and according to your mode, you can get attracted to a certain kind of Puran. So what those people can understand is what's given, that okay, at least come to this level, accept some kind of Vedic authority, and then from there you can gradually progress.
There will be slow progress in that.
Very slow, very slow. That's why Prabhupada says steps versus elevator. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Jyoti? Can't hear you. You are on mute.
Sorry. I had this question, like when many people, when they're not born into noble families, they're just born into very ordinary families or some different types of families. So, but they have that from childhood, they have that inner search for the truth, like inner search for the truth. So, is it because of their previous bhakti sanskar, or like why they have that from? Because many people from childhood they have that.
Yeah. So they could have practiced, Buddhism or some kind of yoga in their past life. And because of that sanskar, they could have practiced Jnana Yoga or something that did have that, desire from the very, very beginning. Or they could have practiced bhakti. Who knows? Yeah. Okay. Somebody please read this one.
ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मृत्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयीधर्ममानो प्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते.
Thank you.
When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death.
Yeah, so here Krishna is talking about the destiny of those who, by the dint of demigod worship, reach the heavenly planets, and then what happens. So one thing to always remember is that problem is with worshipping demigods independently of Krishna or thinking them as at the same level as Krishna. But if somebody is worshipping a demigod, thinking that they are part and parcel of Krishna, they are his assistants, and they can help us to reach Krishna, that is okay. That is pure. That can be pure devotional service, like we see in the case of gopis. They worship Katyayani Devi because they are asking for her favor to reach Krishna. So if somebody is goes to a Hanuman temple sometime and worships Hanumanji and says that you are the emblem of Dasirasa, so please make me also a servant of the Lord. That is fine, but the problem is to equate them with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship them independently of their connection with Krishna. That's the problem. Okay? So here Prabhupada is saying that one who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life, better facilities for sense enjoyment, yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets and then again coming down, as if situated on a Ferris wheel, which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. Such a beautiful analogy Prabhupada is given, like a Ferris wheel, right? It goes up, then it goes down, like that. It keeps going up and down. So similarly, a person who does not take shelter of Krishna, who does not surrender to Krishna, that person also keeps going up and down in the cycle of this material world. Yeah? Okay. 22.
अनन्यश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना
Hold on.
परिपासते.
Yeah, okay, good. Sorry. Go ahead.
अनन्यश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना परिपासते तेषां नित्यभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमवहाम्यहम्. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have.
Yeah, so this is now he's talking about Ananyas Chintayantu Mam. So he's talking about an Ananya Bhakta, a pure, unalloyed devotee. So he's saying that I maintain them directly. I maintain them and I also protect them. I do that. I don't do it through my energies. I do that myself. So Krishna actually intervenes in the life of his pure devotees directly. So Prabhupada in the purport, I'm sure you people know that about the story of Arjunacharya, right? You all know the story of Arjunacharya?
Yes, Mataji.
You know, right?
No, we want to know.
Oh, you don't know, okay. So Arjunacharya was a very great devotee and he was writing a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So when he came to this verse and he saw that Krishna is saying, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. And then he says, Yoga Kshemam Vahameham, that I am the one who does it. So he meditated on it. He said, oh, well, maybe Krishna does it through his energies. That's what it means. So, so he cut aham, and he wrote another word. That word completely slipped my mind now. He wrote another word which meant that I get it done. I get it done. I get my devotee taken care of, and I do everything. So, and he went out to take a bath and to come back and have prasad. So his wife had this thing that he would come back, and then he would honor prasadam, and then she would honor prasadam after him. So after, just as Arjunacharya left, in a little bit time, two boys came, two very young boys, very beautiful looking young boys, and they were carrying heavy load on their backs. And this Arjunacharya was a very poor person. He was a poor brahmana. And every day he would beg something, bring home, and then, the wife would cook, and that's how they would eat something. So these two boys came with heavy load. So Arjunacharya's wife asked, like, who are you and why are you carrying this load? He said, well, your husband caught hold of us on the way, and he really beat us up, and he told us to carry this to your place. So we have come to deliver it. So she says, okay, and then she sees that it's got all the supplies like grains and everything. So she tells these boys that you sit down and let me cook, and I will feed you, because it looks like you people have not eaten in a while. So then she cooks and she feeds them, and then she gets really angry that my husband was he was so cruel. These little boys who are so beautiful, so sweet, he beat them up. So then she decided that after that, I'm not going to wait for my husband to eat, I'm going to eat now. And she started eating. And in the meantime, Arjunacharya came back home, and he saw that his wife was already eating. So he was very surprised. He said, what got into you today? How did you start eating before I came? So then she said, well, you behaved out of character. So today even I'm behaving out of character. So he said, what did I do? He said, you beat up these two young boys, and you made them carry such heavy loads. And these two boys, they were so sweet. And Arjunacharya was like bewildered. He's like, which two boys? She said, there were two boys came. One was very fair, and one was like little darkish in complexion. And Arjunacharya kept looking at her, and then he realized that Krishna had come with his brother Balram to ensure him that I do it myself. I don't send somebody else to bring anything. I do it myself for my devotees. So then Arjunacharya went back and cut the correction he had made and retained the original verse. So this is the story of Arjunacharya, in which case Krishna himself personally demonstrated that I take care of my devotees myself. So you must have heard that story of Akbar and Birbal also, right? That in connection with this verse, Birbal was actually telling Akbar about this verse, and he said that Krishna personally takes care of his devotees. So Akbar didn't believe that. He said, how is that possible? And there's so many people, how can Krishna keep track of who's to be taken care of, and this, that? So he told Birbal, no, it's not possible. So Birbal said, no problem, I'll demonstrate it to you. So a few days passed, and one day he and Akbar was taking a stroll in the garden, and then they saw a maid at a distance was carrying Akbar's very young child, an infant. So they both saw that maid from a distance, and then she came next to the water reservoir, and there she dropped the kid, that infant. So the moment Akbar saw that, he started running. He went running and jumped into the water. And when he got hold of that kid, he saw it was nothing but some wrapped up cloth. So he became really angry. He said, what is this? What kind of joke is this? So because he jumped thinking it was his infant child. So he said, what kind of joke is this? So Birbal said, see, to save your child, did you call anybody else? No, you went yourself. You didn't even think that you have to call anybody else. When you went yourself to save your child, then why aren't you believing that Krishna does it himself? Because we are all his children. and especially for a devotee, because Krishna has such a strong heart connection with such a devotee. So these are the two stories to demonstrate that Krishna does take care of his devotees personally. And then Prabhupada in the purport says that one who's unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day. Being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord, such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which make the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to the material condition of life. Shema refers to the merciful protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life. So Krishna is our eternal protector and he is our eternal maintainer. So sometimes this question comes up. A lot of time devotees ask this question that, in the 8th chapter, we heard that Krishna said, if one remembers me at the time of death, then I deliver such a person comes back to me. So what if a devotee who has done, devotional service throughout his life sincerely, but at the end of his life, he slips into coma, cannot remember Krishna? What happens? Right? So in such a case, Krishna himself, he says that I myself come into the remembrance of such a devotee. So he is the one who takes charge of the devotee. So we should never have that doubt. 23.
येऽप्यन्य देवता भक्ताः यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्य विधिपूर्वकम्. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way.
Yeah, Prabhu, you have raised your hand.
Yes, Mataji, I have a question from the previous text. The last line, Mataji, it states, when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to the miserable conditioned life. Mataji, we sometimes see that some of the devotees fall down from the spiritual standards, right? So are they not Krishna conscious, or they are not fully Krishna conscious? That's why Krishna won't protect them.
See, falling down is very interesting for a devotee. Falling down could be falling down from the spiritual standard. Falling down could be falling from an external position. So it depends on what kind of a fall down it is. Sometimes Krishna makes his devotee fall down deliberately. And the reason behind that is that Krishna is a tricky fellow. So he does it because he wants that devotee to become completely dependent on him. When somebody falls down, nobody really wants to be associated with such a person. People abandon him, or right? People make fun of you. People, So who can you depend on at that time? You realize, except for Krishna, nobody is mine. I can't depend on anybody except Krishna. So sometimes in a devotee's life, Krishna orchestrates these kind of things. And sometimes the fall down, we are coming to that verse. Don't worry, in the 9th chapter itself, we are coming to that verse where he'll talk about accidental fall downs. That because we've had this nature or sanskar for such a long time that even if we come to Krishna consciousness and we practice it very sincerely, sometimes that sanskar comes up. And because of that, somebody may accidentally do something which is not a good thing to do. So Krishna says that I understand that, this person had this sanskar and because of which he has done it. So I still consider him a sadhu. Because if he has not left devotional service and he's still carrying on with the devotional service despite that accident that happened in his life, then I consider him as a sadhu. So here when he says that for falling down to miserable conditioned life means to a person, see, the pull of Maya is very strong. If you are not cognizant and if you're not protected by Krishna and the devotees, Maya can, on our own, we can't withstand Maya. We are powerless in front of Maya. It is only by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees that we are able to counter Maya. So to such a person, sometimes, Krishna, like for a pure devotee, he's always protecting. Ye athamam prapadente. The amount you surrender is the amount of Krishna's protection. So even for a neophyte, he protects, but not always. Sometimes we need to get that slap to understand that, what not to do. So there's protection in that sense. Okay. Okay. So now if somebody can ask that, oh Krishna, do demigod worshippers, as they are your part and parcel. So if somebody worships demigods, so isn't it just like worshipping you? Because we are worshipping the parts and parcels. So why is it such a problem if somebody worships demigods? So Krishna is responding here that they actually worship me. They actually worship me, but they are doing it avidhi purvakam. That is not the way to worship me. That is not the way to worship me. So Prabhupada gives the example that if a man pours water on leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, is it even logical to do that? Can you really water if it's a big tree, can you really water all the leaves of a tree? No. And if the water is not going to the root, then ultimately what's going to happen? The tree will become dry, right? So he's saying the demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. That is stated here as avidhi purvakam. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. Okay? So he's calling it avidhi purvakam. Okay. Now next.
अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च्यवन्ति ते. I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down.
Please read the purport.
Here it is clearly stated that there are many types of yajna performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Yajna means Vishnu.
We read that in the third
Yes.
chapter, right? That yagya is for the pleasure of Vishnu. Yeah, go.
Less intelligent persons, however, without knowing this fact, worship demigods for temporary benefit. Therefore, they fall down to material existence and do not achieve the desired goal of life. If, however, anyone has any material desire to be fulfilled, he had better pray for it to the Supreme Lord, although that is not the pure devotion, and he will thus achieve the desired result.
So what happens if somebody prays to the Supreme Lord for some material desire? What happens?
It will be fulfilled.
It will be fulfilled. Okay. What will happen in between? Prabhu?
Entitled.
Shubham Prabhu?
Mataji, I think if Krishna sees that this desire is like good for his devotional life, he'll certainly approve it. Otherwise, not.
Yeah. Actually, Krishna, in most of the cases, will fulfill that desire, but first he will purify that person. He will purify that person so that he can handle that benediction. Like in case of Dhruv Maharaj, 6 months he got purified completely. And by the time Krishna appeared in front of him, he said, I was looking for, I was actually looking for, glass pieces, but I have gotten diamond in the form of devotional service. I'm not interested in any kingdom now. But Krishna says, now you should take it because now you can handle it, So similarly, when sometimes Prabhupada also mentions that when devotees hear about Sudama, Then they say, well, Krishna gave him so much opulence without Sudama even asking for it. He isn't giving it to us. Some devotees might question, why isn't he giving it to us? So Prabhupada says, he's not giving it to you because you can't handle it. Sudama was given all that because Sudama was not attached to it. But since we will get attached, Krishna doesn't give it to us. But if, later on after some advancement, you still want to be opulent because you want to use that for Krishna service or for whatever, Krishna will give it. But he doesn't give it if it is going to harm your devotional service. Till the time it is harming your devotional service, he will not give it. If you come to a platform when you can handle it, or you realize that, oh, what I was asking for a disaster, then you yourself won't want it, or Krishna will give it if it is not going to be a disaster anymore. Why, Bhavi?
Mataji, is it that Krishna also fulfills our desires to make us teach that we should not desire material things, that we should only desire them?
Sorry, say that again. Krishna does what?
Krishna fulfills our desires to teach us so that we should not desire for material things, and in different case we should desire for him only. Is that also
He
there?
fulfills our desire because he knows that we are very attached. Like in case of Dhruv Maharaj, some commentators say that Krishna tells Dhruv Maharaj, the reason I am fulfilling your desire, I know you don't want it anymore, but I'm fulfilling it because I don't want people to tomorrow point out and say, look at Krishna, his devotee wanted a kingdom, but he did not even give a kingdom to his devotee. So he said, I don't want a bad name. I want to advertise that whoever comes to me, I will fulfill their desire, but please come to me because I will first make you qualified for that desire, and so that you can handle it. And also, when we come to Krishna, as we get purified, we realize what we were asking for was really stupid. Why am I asking for this? This is all temporary. This is all for material sense gratification. Why do I even want it? Just like Dhruv Maharaj. He'll say, why did I even come to you wanting a kingdom? Makes no sense. So that's what happens to the devotees. So that's why Krishna says, don't go to demigods, come to me, because I will purify you. And when I fulfill that any desire of yours, it will not degrade you. See, if demigods give you wealth, then you can actually get degraded by that opulence. But when Krishna gives you that wealth, he will give you when you're purified. So that wealth will not degrade you. So that is the reason one should go to Krishna. Okay, 25.
यान्ति देवव्रता देवान् पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रता भूतानि यान्ति भूतेजा यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम्. Those who worship the demigods will take the birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me.
So Krishna is making it very clear that all paths don't lead to the same goal. A lot of times there's this propaganda that, you can just do anything, worship anybody, but ultimately everybody will go to the same place. So Krishna is making it very clear, no. Because what happens if you worship demigods, then your consciousness is like that. If you worship Krishna, then your consciousness is like that. If you worship ancestors, your consciousness is like that. So a worshipper goes where the faith is reposed, where the consciousness is, right? That's where you'll go. Because at the time of the death, your consciousness will actually determine what your remembrance is. If one's consciousness is filled with Krishna, then remembrance will be of Krishna. If it is filled with demigods, then remembrance will be of demigods. So what will happen? Whatever you remember, whoever you remember, that's where you go. So Krishna is saying this. So, and this is actually, he's saying this because he wants all of us to choose intelligently. Where do I finally want to end up? Do I want to end up in Krishna's abode, or do I want to end up in a demigod's planet? So also he's giving us a choice that, see what you're doing and choose intelligently. Yeah, somebody can read this part.
There are many men.
One.
There are many men who practice this black art and they think that it is spiritualism, but such activities are completely materialistic. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead only achieves the planets of Vaikuntha and Krishna Loka without a doubt. It is very easy to understand through this important verse that if by simply worshipping the demigods one can achieve the heavenly planets, or by worshipping the Pitras, or by worshipping the Pitas, achieve the Pita planet, or by practicing the black arts, achieve the ghostly planets. Why can the pure devotee not achieve the planet of Krishna or Vishnu? Unfortunately, many people have no information of these sublime planets where Krishna and Vishnu live, and because they do not know of them, they fall down. Even the impersonalists fall down from the Brahma Jyoti. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to Godhead.
Thank you. So Prabhupada is making it very clear that those who practice black art will go there. Those who practice worshipping of Pitras go to the planet Pitraloka. So everyone goes wherever their faith is reposed. And he says that people don't really know the difference. People don't really know the difference between going to Swarga and going to a spiritual planet. Most of the people think going to Swarga is the highest attainment. And that's why they say, wo Swargvasi ho gaye. That person went to Swarga. They think that's the highest thing. There's no knowledge. The people don't understand that Swarga is not the ultimate goal. So he's saying that Krishna consciousness movement is there for distributing sublime information so that people can know like what is the method and where should one aim to go. What is the goal of human form of life? Tulsi?
Hare Krishna. Mataji, I have a question. Like, if someone is worshipping demigod, he will go to heavenly planet. Doesn't he take birth again in this material world?
Heavenly planets are in the material world, aren't they?
Like, okay, heavenly planet, but doesn't they take birth? Like, for example, a devotee who is back to Godhead. Okay, if someone is worshipping demigod and he does not, he achieve an heavenly planet or anything else. So, doesn't he take birth again? I'm just asking.
He's
That
taking birth again in a heavenly planet, right? That's part of the material world. He hasn't gone back home, back to Godhead. Heavenly planets are in this material world. If somebody dies thinking of demigods, he can go to the heavenly planets and stay there for some time. And once his pious credits are over, he has to come back to the earthly planet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. 26. Somebody please read.
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्या उपाहृतम् अश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
Which word is repeated twice in this shloka?
Bhaktya.
Bhaktya, yes. So Krishna wants to drill it in that I accept when there is love and devotion. And if there's love and devotion, then I can even accept a leaf, a tulsi leaf, a flower, water, or a fruit. I am not attracted to the opulent offering. I am attracted to the love and devotion behind that offering. That's what Krishna is trying to tell us here. So Prabhupada in his purport says, for the intelligent person, it is essential to be in Krishna consciousness, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, in order to achieve a permanent blissful abode for eternal happiness. The process of achieving such a marvelous result is very easy and can be attempted even by the poorest of the poor without any kind of qualification. The only qualification required in this connection is to be a pure devotee of the Lord It does not matter what one is or where one is situated. The process is so easy that even a leaf or a little water or fruit can be offered to the Supreme Lord in genuine love, and the Lord will be pleased to accept it. No one, therefore, can be barred from Krishna consciousness because it is so easy and universal. Somebody can read this highlighted portion.
Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non devotee. He is not in need of anything from anyone because he is self sufficient, and yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. To develop Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. Bhakti is mentioned twice in this verse in order to declare more emphatically that bhakti or devotional service is the only means to approach Krishna. Without the basic principle of bhakti, nothing can induce the Lord to agree to accept anything from anyone. Bhakti is never causal. The process is eternal. It is direct action in service to the absolute whole.
Yeah. So this is actually a very confidential verse because Krishna is himself telling what he accepts. Krishna is himself giving us an idea that how an offering should be made to him so that he will accept. And also, this is also a verse to dissuade us from, worshipping demigods, because demigod worship requires like big arrangements, a lot of paraphernalia, this, that. So he's saying that, if you worship me, all I need is love and devotion. I don't even need any opulent offerings. I don't need any opulent paraphernalia. Just offer me your heart. And that's it. That's what I'm interested in. Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji. The example could be when Draupadi offered a small leaf which was in the Akshay Patra, God was fulfilled.
Yeah. Many examples in Mahabharata, especially, there are many examples of Vidura's wife offering banana peels, and on the other hand, Duryodhana had arranged a very elaborate feast for Krishna, but Krishna rejected that and went and ate banana peels. Can you imagine eating banana peels only because that was offered by love and devotion? Okay, let's read this. Somebody read.
One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desires, if he desired such things as offering, he would have said so. Instead, he clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be given to him. And he says of this offering, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that we will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings and are prescribed by the Lord Krishna himself.
Yeah, so sometimes people say, where does it say that, that Krishna will not accept eggs or fish or meat? So this is the verse where he very clearly says what he will accept. Okay, so Prabhupada then says in the 3rd chapter, verse 13, Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of the material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexities of material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before the picture or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying to him to accept such a humble offering enables one to advance steadily in life, to purify the body, and to create fine brain tissues which will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be, yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation is serving, and in offering is to act with love for Krishna. So if we think about it, like we read in Brahma Samhita, that he is always served by crores and crores of Lakshmis. What is really that what is there that you can offer that Krishna already doesn't have? What can we offer? Sometimes we make a big feast and are proud of it, that see, I offered such a nice feast to Krishna. Krishna doesn't care for our feast. He has an amazing feast going for him every day, and Radharani cooks for him, and she never cooks the same dish again. What can we offer him? Nothing. But out of his compassion for us, when he sees that we are approaching him with love and devotion, and then he reciprocates. Then we can't make him eat. He eats out of his compassion, because he knows that this is the way to reciprocate with a devotee's love and devotion. So that is all he's interested in. He just wants our heart. He doesn't really want anything else from us. So we should always be careful about this and remember this. Somebody read this, please.
The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad Gita. To them, it is either a metaphor or proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered full in all opulences.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is making it very clear that, some people may say, oh, how can Krishna eat, without touching the food? How can you even say that he has eaten? So Prabhupada often quotes that verse from Brahma Samhita, Angani Yasya Saklendriya Vrittimanti, that he can actually perform one function of his one sense by another sense. By looking, he can eat. He doesn't have to eat like us. 27.
Yat karoshi yad asnasi yad juhoshi dadati yat tapasrasi kaunteya tat kurushmad arpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
So the earlier verse 26 was pure devotion, right? Because a devotee who offers with devotion, Krishna accepts. Now Krishna has come down a level, that in case you cannot offer love and devotion, then what can you do? You can function at the level of Nishkam Karma Yoga, that whatever you do, you actually do it for me, as an offering to me. This is the platform of Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, so let's read the purport.
Thus, it is a duty of everyone to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for maintenance of his body and soul together. And Krishna recommends herein that one should work from him. Everyone has to eat something to live. Therefore, he should accept the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies. Therefore, Krishna recommends, do it for me. And this is called Archana. Everyone has tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money accumulated should be utilized in furthering the Krishna consciousness movement.
Thank you. I have a question. I just said that this verse is Nishkam Karma Yoga. What is the difference between Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga?
Hare Krishna Mataji. The goal is different. For the Karma Yoga, the goal is the Brahm personality, but the Bhakti Yoga, it is the Supreme Lord Himself.
Goal could be different, may not be different. There is the way they act. There is a difference in the way they act. So who knows the difference between? Yeah, Harshika.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Those who are bhaktas or devotees, they know the goal. They serve everything to Lord Krishna. But those who are nishkam karmis, they don't know the main goal. Like they know that there is supreme, but they don't know who is the supreme. They only work, but they don't desire for the results.
Yeah, so
but
they
they don't
could be
have
offering those results to Krishna. No, here he's saying that whatever you do, you offer it to me. So this is Nishkam Karma Yoga. What is the difference? You know, they're offering it to Krishna. It's not that they don't know who to offer it to. They're offering it to Krishna. Ruchita?
in Bhakti.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam.
Dhamatna.
Bhakti yoga is done for the pleasure of Krishna,
And Nishkam Karma Yoga?
for our pleasure, to get name, fame, and to satisfy our, matlab to for our sense gratification actually.
No, he's not gratifying his senses. He's giving everything to Krishna. Where is the sense gratification here?
To get
He's-
name, fame.
Where is the name fame? No. Vaibhavi?
Mataji, as per my understanding, in Nishkam Karma Yoga, they don't desire anything. But in Bhakti Yoga, we desire to please Krishna. And we do whatever we want. Nishkam Karma Yogis also do everything for Krishna. But they do not want any kind, they don't have any desire. They are desire free, I think.
No, where does it say that they don't have any desire?
They
They
don't
have any desire.
attachment.
They don't have any desire to enjoy the fruits of their work. But it doesn't say they are desireless. Okay, good. So, how is this Nishkam Karma Yoga? A Nishkam Karma Yogi is attached to doing the work. He's not attached to doing to getting the results. He's not attached to the result, but he's attached to doing the work. So a Nishkam Karma Yogi does work according to his own propensity and surrenders the result to Krishna. But a Bhakti Yogi surrenders before he starts working. And he works, he does whatever Krishna wants him to do. He is not attached to any particular work. He is willing to do anything that Krishna wants him to do. So he surrenders before, during, and after. But a Nishkam Karma Yogi does the work and surrenders later. That is the difference. Is that okay? Let's go to the next. Did we read this? Yeah, we read the purport. Okay, 28. Somebody please read.
शुभलेर एवं मोक्ष से कर्म बंधना संन्यास योग युक्तात्मा विमुक्तो माम उपास्यसि. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. With your mind fixed on me in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me.
So now Krishna in 28 is telling the result of 27. That if you work the way I mentioned in 27, what will happen? You'll be freed from bondage to work and all the inauspicious and auspicious results. So you'll not collect any karma. And like this, by fixing your mind in this way, ultimately you'll be liberated and you'll come to me. Okay? So Prabhupada says, one who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called Yukta Vairagya. So then he quotes from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and gives the definition of Yukta Vairagya. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind, and the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization. He becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What happens? One comes to this platform of spiritual realization because by not being attached to the results of one's work, the mind and the mind and the heart get purified. Mind is not attached, right? So it gets purified. And then slowly one comes to the platform of spiritual realization and becomes a bhakti yogi. Then Prabhupada says there are 5 different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead and engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Actually, who has no interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Who's a sannyasi? One who just wants to serve the Lord. Could be in a grihastha ashram, could be in brahmacharya ashram, could be in vanaprastha ashram, and could be in sannyasa ashram. Actual sannyasi is one who has decided to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord, who has no separate interest from the Lord. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruitive activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. So Prabhupada is making it very clear. And then for ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas, but although pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually it is not so. Yeah? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
So, Mataji, does that mean that Nishkan Karma Yogi is Yukt Vairagi, right?
Yeah. Yukt Vairagya means what? That he is not attached. He is not attached.
He's offering everything.
And he uses everything in the service of the Lord. A devotee is also Yukta Vairagi. It actually depends on the consciousness, whether it's a Nishkam Karma Yogi or a devotee.
But Mataji, you said
Surrender. Hold on. Whoever it is, please hold on. So it depends on when are you actually offering, when are you actually surrendering. Are you surrendering after performing the work, or are you surrendering before? That's what makes a difference. Yeah, who was it?
Mataji, but you said that they are attached to the work. How they can be Yukta Vairagi?
Yukta, what is the definition of Yukta Vairagi? Tell me.
Those who are not attached, they are unattached.
Huh?
Okay.
Here he's giving Anasakta Vishayan, that he is not attached to the Vishay Bhoga, he is not attached to sense gratification. And he uses Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. He sees everything in connection with Krishna. Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. He knows how to use everything for Krishna. That's what a Yukta Vairagi is. Nishkam Karma Yogi is also giving all the results to Krishna. So that's how he is also a Yukta Vairagi.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. 29.
Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
Yeah, so see, Krishna is giving two contradictory statements. One, he says that I'm not partial to anyone, I'm equal to all. Then he says that one who serves me in devotion is in me and I am also a friend to him. So these are two contradictory statements. So some of our acharyas comment that in this, the first half of the verse where he says Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyo stina priya is actually given in his function as a super soul. That he is not partial as a super soul. But ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapiham is Krishna speaking of himself, that I am partial towards my devotees. As super soul, I'm not partial at all. But as Krishna, I'm partial. I favor my devotees. So somebody can read the purport.
One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in the material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless whether it falls on rock or like a or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in Him. The Lord says here distinctly, Maite, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This is also explains the words, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tans tathaiva bhajamyaham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists between both. The Lord and the devotee are conscious.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait. So here we see that Krishna is, when he acts as Krishna, he's actually reciprocating according to the level of surrender. So he's not like a kalpavriksha that, anybody can go under a kalpavriksha, ask whatever, and he gives. No, that function is like super soul, right? That he is not partial. Super soul is not partial. Whatever is your karmic reaction, that's what he'll sanction. But as Krishna, he's partial. And that is why in Mahabharata it comes that he tells Duryodhan that anyone who's envious of Pandavas is envious of me and is my enemy. Anyone who's envious of my devotees is actually, I take it as that person is envious of me, and I consider that person as my enemy. So in his dealings, we can see Krishna is not samoham sarva bhuteshu. But yes, how we can see Krishna as samoham sarva bhuteshu? That there is an equal opportunity to everyone to take on Krishna consciousness. He does not discriminate. He does not say that, oh, only Brahmanas can do it, or only this class of people can take to Krishna consciousness, or only people with so much education can take to Krishna consciousness. That way he's samoham. In the sense, everyone has equal opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness. He's not partial to anyone. So Prabhupada then says, when a diamond ring is in a gold, when a diamond is set in a gold ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. And then Prabhupada says, living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes a devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is a manifestation of Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. Any questions? Is it clear?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
Probably it's just the English verbiage, Mataji. So what does that mean, is in me?
Is in me means that
translated
I'm in his heart and he's in my heart.
Okay.
So so Prabhupada sometimes clarifies that I always think of him and he always thinks of me. So like that.
Yeah, understood, man.
Yeah. 30. Somebody read this, please. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
अपि चेतसु दुराचारो भजते मां न अनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्य व्यवसितो हि स. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination.
Yes, so this is where Krishna tells us about the potency of devotional service. That by the potency of devotional service, even if one commits an abominable action, he is still considered to be saintly. And it's a beautiful purport. We are not reading the whole purport, but I will encourage you all to go back home and read this whole purport. It's a very, very beautiful purport. So Prabhupada says that in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depend on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord being situated within his heart, purifies him and excuses him for that abomination. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path. For as explained in the next words, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course as soon as a devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. So in this purport, Prabhupada explains that what Krishna is trying to say, that if somebody did some wrongful act accidentally and is very after that he is very repentant. He says, "Oh, why did I do that? I should not have done it." And he decides that I will now chant very nicely. I will follow the whole process very nicely. Maybe I was a little lax in my, practice, and that's why this happened. That's why I made this mistake. So Krishna does not take into account that accidental mistake. He says that such a person, according to me, is a sadhu. Some accidental mistake happened, but he's continuing with devotional service. So now Prabhupada will tell us that actually what should be our mentality. He says, therefore, a person who's situated in Krishna consciousness and is engaged with determination. The word here is engaged with determination in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be considered to be in the transcendental position, even if by chance or accident he is found to have fallen. The words sadhur eva, his saintly, are very emphatic. They are a warning to the non-devotees that because of an accidental fall down, a devotee should not be derided. It is also a warning for us all. Sometimes we may see a devotee going through some difficulty and we decide to judge them or make fun of them. So Krishna is warning us also that I consider such a person as sadhu. If that mistake was accidental, and if he's continuing with his devotional service, I consider that as him as a sadhu. So we should not deride such a person. He should, then Prabhupada continues, he should still be considered saintly even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the word mantavya is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule and derides a devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. The only qualification of a devotee is to be unflinchingly and exclusively engaged in devotional service. Okay, so this is what Krishna is making very clear. Now somebody can read this portion, the green portion from the purport.
The meaning is that even if one fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord is sometimes found engaged in abominable activities, these activities should be considered to be like the spots that resemble the marks of a rabbit on the moon. Such spots do not become an impediment to the diffusion of the moonlight. Similarly, the accidental fall down of a devotee from the path of saintly character does not make him abominable. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in the transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusionary energy. As long as one is strong enough to fight the illusionary energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to such fall downs. As previously explained, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a He is not a high devotee.
So Prabhupada is warning that don't misuse this verse. Don't think that, oh, okay, it's okay to fall down, and then I still should be considered as sadhu. No, he's referring to accidental fall down due to previous sanskars coming from previous lifetimes. Okay, text 31. Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji, I have a question in this. So, Mataji, it is for the accidental fall downs, but what happened to those devotees who, by choice, do the abominable activities somehow? Earlier, it was accidental, but by doing it repeatedly, it is by choice. So, what
Yeah,
happened to
so
those?
they fall down. They actually fall down. Because this is Krishna is giving this leverage for a person who does accidentally once and is repentant. Sometimes the sanskar may be so strong that one did something wrong and was really repenting. Why did I do it? Why did I do it? And then because of the pushing of the sanskar may do it again. And then that person thinks, oh, I'm so fallen. Look at me. What am I doing? And then if he decides to take shelter of a pure devotee and, be in that association and get rid of that sanskar or become strong in his practice, then Krishna would still consider that such a person as a sadhu. But if somebody is, has committed an abominable act and then repented and then went on doing it again and again, and every time he comes and says, oh, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done it. Okay, I'm so sorry. But if you're not doing anything to get rid of that sanskar, or if you're not changing your practice, then it is all, what is it? It's like all show bottle. It is not really genuine repentance. Genuine repentance means that there'll be some change in your practice. You'll bring about some change, because it's foolish to expect that with the same input, the output would be different. If you're not changing your practice and you think, oh, tomorrow, you know what, I will not do this. It's not going to happen. There has to be some change in the sense that some more sincerity, some more becoming a little more conscious, or doing something more, associating with devotees differently, like that. Something has to be different for that change to come about. But if it is happening repeatedly and a person is not doing anything to rectify it, then it is not accidental anymore. Then it is premeditated. It's almost like the seventh namaprad, sinning on the power of the holy name. Yeah. Okay, 31. Very famous shloka.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वचिन्तं न निगच्छति कौन्ते प्रतिजानीहि नामे भक्त्या प्रणश्यति. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
Yeah, so he's continuing from the 30th verse, that such a person, who, if he's engaged in devotional service with determination, he will quickly become righteous and attain lasting peace. And then he is telling Arjun, please declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So I'm sure you all have heard this. So let's just discuss it very briefly. Why do you think Krishna says, Arjun, you say it? Why doesn't Krishna say it himself? That I declare that my devotee never perishes. Why? Shubham Prabhu?
Because Krishna can, sometimes अपनी बात से पीछे हट जाएंगे, but if a devotee says something, he will certainly do it. Just like Prahlad Maharaj and Arjun, he also took the chakra, the wheel
Because
of
of Bhishma.
Bhishma.
Yeah. Because Krishna knows that after especially Mahabharat, a lot of people may doubt that is Krishna really going to stick to his word? He knows that because he sometimes breaks his word to keep his devotees' words. So that is why he's telling his devotee that Arjun, you declare it, because people know that if Arjun has said it, then I will actually make it happen. So he's telling Arjun to declare it. So Prabhupada says, the question remains, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord have no good qualifications. As is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who's engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic process to purify himself. Some kind of atonement he has to do. But here there is no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of a devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. Yeah? So when you read NOI, you have not read NOI yet, right? In the first text, it will come when Parikshit Maharaj will question, when Shukadev Goswami in the beginning of 6th canto tells him that one should atone for one's, sinful actions. So then he says that, okay, this is just like elephant bathing. The elephant takes bath, comes out, and sprinkles dust all over his body again. So this is like elephant bathing, because if the propensity to sin is still there, then what good is atonement? Nothing. So similarly, here Prabhupada is referring that in Vedas there are sometimes different atonements given. But if one is practicing devotional service, that means his heart is going to be purified, even the propensity is going to go away. So he will not sin anymore. So that is the best atonement. Best atonement is devotional service. There's no atonement higher than that. Okay? So we'll do one more verse and then we'll stop for today. Somebody read this, please.
मां हि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य ये अपि स्युः पापयोनिः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तः शूद्रास्ते अपि यान्ति परां गतिम्. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, merchants, and shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination.
So he's saying that anybody who takes shelter of me without any discrimination will get the supreme destination. It says, whoever comes to my shelter. So Prabhupada says it is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions, but for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, they are not. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandals, dog eaters, can be purified by the association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of a pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. And then he says, the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is only possible when one takes shelter of Krishna, as indicated here by the word Vipashitya. One has to take shelter completely of Krishna, then one can become much greater than the great Gyanis and Yogis. So it looks like, materially it looks like, oh, these are like Shudras and Chandas and these kind of people. So Gyan Yogi or a Karma Yogi is higher than them, right? But Krishna is saying that, but if these people take to devotional service, then they surpass Gyan Yogis and all other yogis, because they can attain the supreme destination which a Gyani cannot attain or a mystic yogi cannot attain. The maximum they can reach up to is the Brahmajyoti. But by taking to devotional service, one can be of any background. They can get the supreme destination. Okay? All right, so we'll stop here and we'll do the next 2 shlokas next week on Monday and start the 10th chapter also. All right, any last minute questions? Okay, thank you very much for being very patient and attentive. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Pranam to all devotees.
Pranam to all devotees.